Right.
We're there, aren't we? Welcome to Off Lead number 3, I think.
Yeah,
so we're joined today. Hi, Stuart. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, yeah.
Time this goes out, it won't be Valentine's Day at all. But happy Valentine's. We're joined by Poppy. Hi, Poppy.
Hi.
Poppy's 17 and she trains agility. I've met Poppy through agility. She comes and trains with me, and she does loads of good stuff with her dogs, with agility and tricks and obedience and stuff.
Yeah, cool. I've never met Poppy, so this is first time for me. So hello, Poppy.
Hi.
All right.
And what dogs have you got, Poppy?
I've got 2 Cockapoos and an Australian Labradoodle.
Wow.
Okay. Cool.
Lots of poodling going on in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of poodling going on.
Good. So we've called today's session Hidden Disabilities. We're going to discuss hidden disabilities. And Stuart and I had this big conversation, didn't we, Stuart, on what to call it, because we knew what we wanted to perceive. And we knew that it was a hidden disability. However, the word disability, Stuart, it brought some alarm bells to you.
Yeah, I don't know why. And I said, like I said, when in our conversation, whether it's because I haven't got a disability or I don't know or know of many people with disabilities, approaching the subject always makes me feel slightly uncomfortable, because you never know how people want to be treated or whatever. So do you, like for me, I always go, I should treat them as normal as any other people, but then I also go, but they're not normal, but they are normal. And then it's like,
define normal though. What
exactly,
is normal?
Yeah, it's one of those, how do you deal with it? And I know that some people with disabilities feel, either way, different ways, whereas if they want to be treated normally as everybody else, but then other people want a little bit more sort of special treatment or a little bit more sort of exception. I don't know. And it was just the subjects are sort of.
And as you're talking, I can see that you are feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know why, but it just makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. So this is actually good for me. This is an interesting subject for me, because we can get sort of an insight on how it goes, really.
And I know for me, it was one of those things that I'm quite passionate about in I teach very inclusively. I'm very, I think, sympathetic to people's needs, the same as you. I know we share the same ethos with that. And sometimes as an agility trainer, I just get on with the job. I'm just like, come on, blah, 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 blah. So excuse to all the listeners. Obviously, I am a middle-aged woman, right? So I God, I'm putting this out there. I have a leaky problem, a leaky woman problem. Okay, my bladder just doesn't do what I want it to do at my age. Probably should have done some pelvic floor muscles after the kids, but there you go. And I was chatting to somebody the other day, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't even know leaky women was a thing." And I'm like, "Yeah, I leak." And she was. But you just ran from there to there, like massively fast, and you jog and you do this and you do that, and like, because I've learned to live with it, and it's just something that I protect myself against. And that's the way it is.
But is that something that we should be, like, especially from a man's point of view, should we be making exceptions for that? Do we need
to?
No,
I don't think you should. I would be completely like embarrassed to go to a new trainer and say, treat me any differently. I think that's, for me and for individuals, I think it's up to us to find our own coping mechanisms, isn't it?
Yeah.
Poppy, would you what is it that you suffer with? Let's just get straight down. What is it that you suffer with?
So I'm autistic, and I suppose obviously there's so many different variants of autism, and I'm Asperger's. And for me, I find it really funny, because I have literally told about 3 people that I know of, like none of my family know except for the ones I live with. 2 people that I'm friends with probably know. And for me, I'm just as uncomfortable to talk about other people's kind of disabilities, because I don't see myself as disabled.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just don't. And even though it does impact my life a great deal, I feel like I always live by the motto that there's somebody out there that probably has a worse off disability. And because mine's not a physical disability, obviously it's hidden, so nobody has to know about it. For me, I just carry on living a normal life, and then when I'm behind closed doors, that's probably when I'm a bit more like mentally drained from it all, from hiding it, I'd say.
Okay.
Especially because I only got diagnosed when I was 12, so obviously I lived 12 lives.
Okay.
I want to say, Poppy, how brave. How amazingly brave, right, Stuart? I am going to end up crying, and I don't want to do that, but I do get emotional. Sorry, Poppy. So how long have you been training with me, Poppy? 2 years, 3 years, maybe?
Only
we had lockdown. We had lockdown in the middle, didn't we? Yeah, I'm not sure. I knew that you were homeschooled, and I think you might have mentioned that you had learning disabilities, or that may have been your mum or something. I never knew this, Stuart. I never knew until we put the post out and Poppy came forward and said, I'd like to talk about it. So firstly, how brave.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for choosing us to do it with as well. Thank you for choosing us to talk about it.
Yeah. You know. Thanks, Poppy. I want to give her a hug. So I've just Googled, right, disability, physical or mental condition that limits a person's movement, senses or activities, a disadvantage or handicap, especially one imposed or recognised by the law. And that's quite a big statement, isn't it? What would you, if you had to classify yourself, if someone was talking about you, Poppy, in a nice way, you know, so Stuart and I were having a conversation, would you say that you had a condition? Would you say that you had a disability? Or would you just go, I've just got Asperger's?
I think I would just say that it's like just a condition. Or to be honest, I think I would just say I'm autistic. Because I think an autistic person or someone with like ADHD, or I don't know, like every time I've told someone, it's like, what, you're autistic? Because because I do perceive to be normal in a way. So well,
you are normal.
Exactly. So do you find it, if we talk it from sort of labels point of view, so being labeled certain things, so interesting that you said you said I am Asperger's. So does that mean that you are, or do you label yourself as that? Is that just the condition you've been diagnosed with? Does that make sense? I'm trying to.
I don't label myself as that in the sense of like, I wouldn't meet someone and say, I am Asperger's. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that's amazing as well, because I know you come across people, you know, let's just chuck it out there, Stuart, right? We're not going to worry about being politically correct here, you know, because sometimes we have to discuss these open subjects. So
definitely.
I know people that would use it as an excuse. So probably you're agreeing with me there. So you're not the sort of person that says, because I know, because I've been around you competitions, I've tried to support you. Never have you ever said to me, I can't do that because. Never. And I think, you know, that's a really big thing, Poppy, and something you should be so proud of.
So I think we spoke a little bit briefly, didn't we, Emma, about this before. We were unsure about how to sort of broach the subject, but there are people out there that use certain things almost as an excuse, or for their behavior, for their attitude, for their results almost. And I understand that obviously not having any sort of disabilities or whatever, I can't comment on it from that point of view, but there's also got to be a point, especially from your point of view, Poppy, that you go, you know what, I'm not going to be labeled as something, because I am just, you know, you are just Poppy and you do what you do. That's it.
How does it affect your agility? Does it have an impact on your competitions and training, first of all?
Well, I would say a huge amount. Obviously I'm hypersensitive, so things like a tannoy at a competition, that to a normal person, it's just a loud sound. But I remember looking back at a video at the UK Nationals, and their tannoy was loud, and you can actually see me flinch in the video when it goes off. And because I flinched, obviously my dog then flinched as well, because it was like what said to be scared about. And KCI, for instance, I remember running a course and the tannoy went off, and then my brain was just like, oh my god, what's going on? And then you have to keep thinking, obviously it's agility, and with an animal you have to keep getting around that course.
Do you worry about it before you go?
I used to, but not anymore, because I've just learned to accept the fact that it's going to happen, and I just try and get a bit more focused on the run in a way.
So here's another little bit of a difficulty kind of conversation here. So had I known, would I have treated Poppy differently? Probably. Does she want to be treated differently? No. So that's really hard, isn't it? So I think I'm an empathetic person. I think I'm quite compassionate. I think I'm quite quick at picking up if someone's struggling, you know, and certainly as a behaviourist, I recognise the impact that it has on the dog, etc., etc. But had Poppy come to me and said, and this has probably happened, and probably happened to you, Stuart, as well, as a trainer, all right, okay, I've got so-and-so and so-and-so. As a trainer, you would treat that person differently.
100%, yeah. Even if you didn't do it intentionally, I think the way that, like you say, the way that we treat people anyway, I would my automatic response would be step back for a second and then try and do something a little bit different for them, whether they want it, whether they asked for it or not. And I suppose that's what I was saying at the very beginning when we started to talk about it. That's where I'm uncomfortable, because I probably know that most people with disabilities don't necessarily want to be treated differently, but I can't help what I do. So then I then feel embarrassed a little bit because I'm treating them differently, and I'm trying really hard not to, and then it comes across as being completely fake, almost to the point where you ignore it, and then it's just so hard to balance that out. So
I sometimes think as well that it's easier if you're not, so when you teach, you get quite close to people, don't you? Not close, but you know, from a like
friends,
you get to know them, don't you? So I did I work heavily with a couple of trainers locally, and I did a behaviour session with one of our local trainers. They were just struggling a little bit to see through, because they'd worked with these guys for so long. And basically it was a lady in a wheelchair. She's got MS. She's also had cancer. The dog wasn't responding to recall stuff. And the husband really wanted to help, because the husband had been through all this with her. So, you know, of course you would want to help that person. Yeah. So, and I'd had a conversation with the trainer first, and we'd kind of like, you know, he's like, I feel like I need to help this person so much because she deserves it so much. Well, I came at it from a very different angle because I was fresh. So he'd got quite sort of, you know, not close to them on a client basis. And so, but I was able to say to them, right, okay, you know, hubby, she's fine. You need to go and step back because the dog's not responding because you're there, you know. So let's step back. Let her build her confidence with what she's got, with a new, you know, stuff going on. And the dog responded like that just because we worked on it like that. So in that situation, it did help me to know, but it also helped me to know that I hadn't got to know about the disability, you know, as we say, what is a disability, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just think it, I don't know, like I said, it just made the whole subject was interesting enough for me to get, because I was so uncomfortable with knowing or not knowing. And I don't know, out of all the people that I train, do I know any of them that have got disabilities? Not that I know of. Yes, I know there's a few that have, you know, they have to distance handle certain things. They may be a little bit more senior, should we say, or that sort of part. But I wouldn't say that I know anybody with disabilities. And now does that make me bad that I don't know, or is that because I don't need to know?
Yeah, I think you've touched on something very good there, in the fact that what you're talking about is physical disabilities are easy to deal with.
Yeah.
Do you not think so, Poppy?
Yeah.
Like if you saw someone with like a dodgy knee or something that couldn't run, that person's probably quite happy to deal with it.
But how many people on my books do I know that have these hidden disabilities, and do I need to know? That's the other part.
What would you say, Poppy? So if we, I do like a little bit of a medical form. Do we need to know?
I think it's down to the person. Like, for me, no. I think if it came up that something happened and you needed to know, but I think most people do dog agility, or they might go to dog training for that kind of outside world of that disability. You know, it's other side to actually, I'm not going to be treated differently, and it's a hobby, you know.
I think that's good, because like with agility in general, it's one of those, it's so inclusive, isn't it, that from the people competing in exactly the same competition for the same trophy from the age of 5 years old to 85 years old. Without any, there's no sort of, it's all inclusive.
And how many of those people say, like, your classes are bigger than mine, but average kennel club class can range from 35 right up to 255, I don't know what the maximum is now, but how many of those people walking the courses would you actually think percentage wise have struggled to get in the ring? We're not talking about nerves, because that's a whole different subject, but have struggled to get in the ring because of some sort of hidden disability, and have actually rocked up and put themselves on the platform.
I mean, that could be anything as well, from like number dyslexia, color blindness, autism. Any of those sort of things is going to make things double hard for anybody that's trying to compete. And then almost to the point now, we start to look at different shows, almost a different subject, but when we stand ringside and we watch certain dogs go around, and they don't have the best of rounds for whatever reason, and how many people instantly judge the training before they
the handling
before they even know what that person went through just to get their dog on the field.
It's actually quite humbling, isn't it?
And the thing that changed it for me instantly, made me look at things differently, is when I went to IMCA, when we went to Spain in 2019, and we watched the para team and all those competitors just stepping on the start line.
Let's just quickly, in case people don't know, so IMCA, I was on the team the year before, Stuart, I think, wasn't it? The Team UK go out and support the para agility team, and they grade, I think it's 6 different grades of disabilities, isn't it? So somebody with asthma, could compete in the team, right up to somebody that do you know what, I am really struggling today, I'm sorry, but right up to somebody that was being held and directing their dog. The round probably took them about 10 minutes, and I was like, it puts us to shame, Stuart, sometimes. I was last week saying, I just want my dog to look good.
But it was going to Spain, it was going to IMCA, and worrying about myself getting on the start line, nerves and all the bits and pieces that go with it, and then standing back and, like you say, watching somebody being carried around, and their dog's running all over the place. Their dog is running all over the place, not doing any of the numbers, any of the course in the right order, not doing anything at all. But the place just erupts when they finish. Whatever. And then I stood back and went, I have nothing to worry about here.
Exactly.
Almost to the point where you go, who am I to worry about this?
Yeah, exactly. It is so humbling. Even listening to Poppy, I'm like, wow. The tannoy. How would I even know that?
Yeah, that wouldn't even be a thing for me. I can understand a tannoy affecting a dog.
That's what I was going to say.
Etc. But a person, you'd be like, imagine how many people out there now with PTSD, loud noises, all those sort of bits and pieces that we just take for granted. That
I'm going to touch on this lightly. So I had PTSD a few years ago now, and I had to go a year through counselling because of it. Obviously it wasn't war related or anything like that, but having experienced a flashback, it is like living in the moment with a heightened sense. So if you get a flashback, you would get so you're living that moment again, but you would get, so say it, for instance, I don't pretend to know what war heroes go through, but the smell of the smoke would be double what it would normally be. The sound of the bullet would be the double what it is normally. So PTSD is
and those are the things
hidden
that we don't even think about. Well, I don't, not necessarily all the time, because you're in your own bubble, you're in your own world, you're doing your own competition with your own dog, running your own event, whatever it is. So why would we think?
And how many? I would say I'm going to go to. So obviously, some people, we've had some messages, haven't we, that people just want to remain anonymous, and I'm going to go to one of these that says, I've had to learn to cope with it. I don't like people knowing about my problem, because you will get treated differently. I'd rather soldier on, and if I've got to make an excuse or act stupid to get out of the situation, I will. This is a person that has walked out of training sessions because they don't want to talk about it or be treated differently, and has been treated differently in the past and potentially embarrassed by that. And dreads going to shows. I get stressed worrying about different things before I go into a show environment, and this will transfer to my dog.
I mean, that's.
What would you say to that, Poppy?
Yeah, I can completely agree. Like a week before I go to a show, once again, I'm hypersensitive. So it's what's the smell? What's the show going to smell like? For me, it's a really big thing about like hygiene. So am I going to be able to? I was in a tent for the first year.
How did you come?
But that's just it. A year ago, I was on an hour-to-hour basis routine. Like, I'd wake up at the same time, I'd shower, and everything was strict. And for me, that's why I love agility so much, because it's completely flipped my life around. I was in a tent, there might have been a sink, there might have been a shower, and you just have to kind of get on with it in a way, which obviously some people are going to find more difficult. But for me, it was just the enjoyment of running around a field with your dog.
So you actually think that it's massively helped you?
Oh yeah, like I didn't like it 2 years ago. I was non-verbal. I wouldn't be sat on something like this speaking to someone I've never met before. But because,
I'm so proud.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, because of agility and obviously the people that I've met through it, it's just my life has just completely flipped.
Yeah. And do you find that you're able to cope with, because like camping and things like that, do you find that your coping mechanisms have improved?
Yeah, 100%.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So what would you say, again, to just say it as it is, because that is what we're about. So if somebody said to you, right, okay, I want to start agility, I have this condition, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
I don't know. I think it would be just like kind of go for it. Like there's so many, for me, I'm now a complete nerd, I'd say, when it comes to dog training. Well, I would, and it's like, for me, I just think it is scary. I remember my first competition, and a month beforehand, that's all I'd worry about, just the different situations. But I think if you've got a good trainer, group of people around you, that actually, and it's crazy how you can go to a competition. Like I'm friends with someone now that was parked next to me on my first competition and can now see the shy Poppy who was worried to queue to the Poppy who just walks up to a queue and goes in the ring. And you just kind of have that journey with all the different people that you go and compete with, way, because they've seen everything. They'll see you when you get eliminated, they'll see you when you win, And
it's interesting you should say that, because coming from a behaviour work, so fundamentally first, I'm a behaviourist, so I do the obedience, that's what I do. The agility training was always a little sidekick for me. So I am always very, very quick to pick up on a dog's behaviour.
Yeah.
What other people perceive as the dog being naughty or appeasement behaviour or this, that and the other. I would always straight away, like, my sympathies with the dog. What is going on? You know, what's the dog trying to tell us? What is happening?
Yeah.
Why is it doing this? What can I do to make that dog's life better? And generally, if I'm completely honest, I would probably put it down to nerves. So even in a training situation, I'd probably like, you need to relax a little bit. You know, you need to do this. Come on, let's do this. Let's do that. And I think I'm quite sympathetic with people. Maybe I don't come across like that always when you're trying to teach, but I would always, like, the dog's gone off. Okay, let's give this dog a break. Why is that going on? But I would never, I probably will now, think that person's dealing with a hidden disability. Never.
No, I wouldn't know. You'd almost put it like you say. That's what I said earlier. You blame almost the training, the trainer. You don't blame the situation, really. Like I said, when you're watching somebody in an agility ring in a competition and the dog's really not taking that much notice, going off sniffing a little bit, you know, jumping jumps, it doesn't, missing contacts that they normally get 100% in training. You know, running.
You'd always put it down to nerves and stress, wouldn't you?
Nerves, stress, or you know, bad handling, poor training. You know, who the bloody hell do they train with? You know, those
I never say poor. I never do I say poor handling. Ever, never. I don't even think that I ever. To be fair, I don't watch a lot of people. If I'm watching, I guess I get wrapped up in a little bubble on my own. But if I am watching other people, I'm like, oh, I didn't think of doing it like that, or oh, well, I wouldn't have done it that way, or I wouldn't have done it this way.
But it's also those things, the choices that people make on course, you know, like you say, why would you choose that route? Why? Maybe they didn't want to choose that route. Maybe that route just popped into their head at that point because that's all they had in their.
Yeah, Stacey used to get that at Crufts. So Beth was obviously a very reactive dog, and she's a dog that people told me that I should never compete. Don't ever tell me not to do something. So you know, I marked on a complete obedience with her so that I could drop her into a down at any point, blah, 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 blah. But Stacey, when she was competing in the YKC ring, and I guess this isn't a hidden disability, but she felt that she was different because I was telling her, like, she made her own decisions when she knew, but she needed to put an extra front cross in to get between Beth and the crowd, you know, so, but as she was walking around, she would get looks, you know, she would get the, why is she doing that differently? You know, that's ridiculous, you wouldn't need that, and so she kind of got quite a lot of social anxiety because of that, which then had an impact, but as always, I digress, you know, that's not really a hidden disability.
No.
So then, go on.
No, go on. I was going to say, but then where do you draw the line? So anxiety, overwhelm, depression, you know, where do you draw the line at hidden disabilities?
Well,
you know, I mean, there's a difference between anxiety and anxious, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But
anxiety is a condition.
Yeah, but again, where do you draw the line in between anxious and anxiety, or stress and worry to depression?
Yeah, see, and the thing is with me is I am stubborn. So whilst I've had to deal with stress, anxiety, PTSD and everything else, probably all my life, I'm a little bit like Poppy in the fact that I've never let it stop me doing what I want to do, you know, because it's so easy to hide behind. But then I think I work a lot on my mindset. So I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of calming stuff. And the reason I go dancing is because it's an outlet away from the business. So I work a lot on me so that I can push forward. Is that selfish? I don't know.
That's interesting, because I had a conversation with somebody else this morning about being selfless or selfish. And we basically come to the conclusion that nobody is selfless at all. Everybody is selfish at
what
some
does
point.
Selfless mean? Sorry.
Because selfless means that you always do things for other people. nothing's ever for yourself. Now,
I probably fall into that.
Well, you can't, because whatever you do to make yourself feel better. So even you helping somebody else makes you feel better. So in essence, you're actually selfish, because whether you get, it doesn't matter.
Poppy is beating me up.
Because everybody's the same, aren't they? Because if you give to charity because you go, right, I want to give to charity. Yes, you want to help, but that also in turn makes you feel better because you've helped. So
that makes you selfish.
I'm not going to. Selfish is hard, isn't it?
I disagree.
Selfish is hard is a harsh word, but I don't think that we ever do anything
for other people. Just for other people.
We do it because we want to help other people, and that's the way we feel. But
Poppy, help me out here. I disagree, right? Because, and again, we've digressed like we do, right?
Yeah.
I like seeing people succeed. Okay, that I get a buzz out of seeing people successful and seeing people. I probably sometimes will push people because I want them to succeed. What I've got much better at is I like them to define their success. So whether that be a clear round or just getting a start line weight, that's their definition, not my definition. So I've got better at that. Obviously I work, so yes, I get paid for it, but I don't want, if I do someone a favor, I want nothing back for that. And I don't think I do that to make myself feel better. No,
but all the first three sentences that you did is you went, I like. Didn't you?
Are we bleeping that out?
No. No, but I'm right, aren't I?
Oh.
Because I like to see people succeed. I like to see people do well.
So does that make you selfish?
No, I don't think it does. I think selfish is a hard word.
But it's all about me, is what you're saying.
But ultimately, everything that we ever do, we are number one.
I'm glad I wasn't in that conversation this morning, because I probably would have got off my bandwagon.
Yeah, but you see where I'm coming from?
It's an interesting concept, and I think it's great that people think differently.
Because I just feel that everything that we do, even if I'm helping everybody, which is, we want to help as many people as we can, want to make everybody feel comfortable. But ultimately, I want to make everybody feel comfortable. I want to help everybody out.
Maybe they don't want to feel comfortable.
Exactly. But so I'm doing it for myself, because I believe that they should feel comfortable.
Have you got anything to add to this, Poppy, apart from
that makes sense to you, Poppy? That went off a little bit then, didn't it?
Like, you never really think about it like that, do you?
No.
I think as a person who, I don't know, for instance, say if someone asked me to go out with them, for me, going out to a weird restaurant that I've never been to is like terrifying. So I think there is moments where I do feel like you do things for other people that might not make yourself happy, but you're still doing it to make yourself happy so that you don't let that other person down.
Yeah. So you're doing it for your own benefit.
Yeah. So that, it's crazy.
I'm not sure about this one. I'm not sure. See, and I also think, Poppy, going on to this, and maybe, I don't know whether we've gone off piece completely, probably, but, it's okay to do things to make people happy is okay to make, and we want to make people comfortable, but you need a boundary with that. That doesn't come at all costs.
No.
So again, does that define me as selfish or selfless, or just normal? Whatever normal is.
Whatever normal is, but then you go into a whole different conversation of what normal actually is.
Well, I think we've done a full circle on it, because perfectly imperfect, I think, defines us all.
Yeah.
So and that's
where I think agility or dog training comes into its own, because it is so inclusive.
Yeah.
It does not matter at all who you are.
But what does matter? You see, I've got straight onto now. So, and this probably, don't worry, Poppy, I'm not going to treat you any differently. But now, and this has gone back to selfish and selfless, right? So I'm now thinking, right, okay, I am an empathetic person, and I'm very emotional. Okay, so I now want to go out and help everybody with hidden disabilities, but they don't want to be helped. So that is about me.
Yeah. So you have to wait. So that's what I said at the very beginning. Do we carry on as normal, and then whoever it is has the disability, if they feel like they have to come up and say, look, I'm going to struggle with this because of, but don't do anything about it, it's fine, I'll deal with it. Or the person that just keeps themselves to themselves, doesn't say a word, you just carry on as normal.
Yeah. And again, I see that as a personal goal, because I'd be like, how would you feel, right, Stuart, if somebody, again, it's all about us, isn't it?
Yeah.
How would you feel, right, if somebody walked off your training course, you did a training day for the day, and they just walked off, okay, because, and you probably thought, what have I done? So straight away, it's about us, straight away, what have I done? Could I have made that easier? Could I have done this? You might drop them a message, anything I could have done. Like some people, some trainers might just think, oh, well, that's it. I kind of now feel like, God, I'd want to get to the bottom of it, and I would see it as a personal goal to try and make them feel better. I know that the anonymous message that I got, I was like, well, how can I help you with this? I need to be able to develop you so that you can say to people, I need to do this. And they were like, no, that's my job.
Yeah.
So maybe we carry on being ignorant to it, but not ignorant, that's the wrong words.
Yeah, I don't think it's ignorance, is it? I think it's just
being us.
Carrying on doing. And again, conversation I had with this morning with somebody, we were talking a little bit off topic about people training with other trainers, other organizations, other bits and pieces compared to our own. We're in competition with other people, aren't we? You got trainers.
I embrace that. I embrace people going to other trainers.
And then it was almost, the conversation was, what do we do to make out, to stand out? What do we do? And I just said, you just carry on doing exactly what you do, because by the laws of attraction, almost, as long as you keep doing what you do, the people that you need to attract will come to you anyway. So whether that's, I don't know, maybe that we've got handlers that we don't even know about that have got hidden disabilities. Maybe that's because we are what we are.
I bet if we were to do, which we can't, a survey on this, I bet it's high.
Yeah. And that is because maybe
do you think the same thing, Poppy? I mean, you're probably more aware of it than we are.
Yeah, when I was talking to my therapist, apparently there's 60% of people out there, but they just don't know. So there might be somebody in your groups that have the hidden disability that just don't know that they have that hidden disability.
Yeah, because it's normal for them, normal life. They've never noticed it any different.
Oh yeah, and I think it's probably more attractive to dogs because I guess it's true to say, Poppy, that socially you find it easier to be around dogs than people. Yeah. So we are attracting a lot of hidden disabilities. I've always been aware with my behaviour work that I do deal with a lot of emotions and a lot of trauma, and because lots of people turn to animals for that. So, but I've never ever have I thought about it from a competitive agility point of view.
No.
So,
but then, like I say, do we just carry on doing what we do?
I think so.
And
I think just carry on doing
we'll get what we need, or we'll get what other people need. So,
but who says they need it? I think
that's what I'm saying. But we will attract. So everything that happens, if we go all a little bit hippie onto it to a certain extent, a little bit spiritual about it, we always get what we need.
We do,
whether we want it or not is a completely different conversation.
Yeah, I follow you.
But we get what we need, and that's what I was saying this morning to the group I was talking to this morning. You keep doing what you do, because you'll get what you need.
Yeah. I actually think, right, now I've got off my bandwagon, that your selfish, selfless comment has made me think, actually, because I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. However, like you, I want to make people happy. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to be good at what they do. But they probably just want to come along and play with their flipping dog.
Yeah.
And there's this mad woman going, you must do this, come on, you know, I can make you feel better, I can make you do this.
Yeah.
They're probably like, oh.
Yeah, some people just want to come for an hour, chat with their friends, run around the course for 10 minutes, and then go home and not worry about it again until next week.
Yeah. And we probably need to wrap up, guys. I think it's a subject that we could talk about forever.
Absolutely.
Poppy, I'm going to put, firstly, Poppy, thank you. Like, amazing. Be amazingly proud of the journey that you've been on.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us to see from a 17-year-old's point of view how life's been quite tough. And there she is. So, yeah, be very proud. How would you sum up hidden disability? What sum it up for us? Hidden disability and agility.
Oh, wow.
I didn't prepare you at all for that, did I?
No.
I don't know. I do sometimes feel like it's like just your own little bubble, you know, especially if you're comparing it to your own little bubble in agility. Because I just think, like, for me, I'm the normal, you know, whereas you're different from me in a way. So it is that whole what is normal, you know, because from my perspective, you're different, you know, and I'm
that's an amazing way of looking at it.
You know, and I just think, I do live by the motto of what is normal. You know, if someone says to me, but you have a disability, but for me, because it's neurological, actually, it's not physical. I'm not actually different. I'm just not your normal, you know?
Yeah. And that's where I think perfectly imperfect describes us all. We're all perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
You know, we are all our own normal, aren't we? Whether that be, you know, so thanks for that, Poppy. Stuart, got anything else left to say?
No, I was just going to say the same as you.
Offending me,
apart from offending you, calling you selfish. But no, again, just thank you for Poppy for coming on with us, because it's definitely made me think a little bit more, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's definitely made me think a little bit more.
I think being aware is a good thing, but not acting upon it until somebody says.
Yeah, exactly. And also, hopefully, people that are listening, watching, you know, people that we train or see on a regular basis, will be able to see that we're aware of these things, and we're not sort of closed-minded to ignore it. And if anybody wants to come up and say anything, then and
again, I think it's an open invitation.
But also, don't feel that you have to either.
Yeah, and remain anonymous if you want to. And I also think that it's a really good time to say, you know, this isn't our podcast just because we think these are interesting conversations. You know, please come forward and what do you want us to talk about? Do you want to come on like Poppy? Do you want to just send us some comments?
Yeah.
You know, we're happy to talk about anything really, aren't we? As long as it's relative.
Yeah, definitely. This has been brilliant. Yeah, this has been brilliant.
Yeah, well done. Thanks, Poppy, for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
See you later.
Right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.